feelings are not the facts. And if our feelings are not the facts, and I'm not trying to say minimize, because we are to feel the feeling, acknowledge the feeling, accept the feeling, embrace the feeling. But sometimes our feelings aren't the facts. And one of the most dangerous things that I found, and sometimes I've even done it, is I've made permanent decisions based upon temporary feelings. Feelings like resentment. Feelings like regret. Feelings like revenge. Today's focus scripture is Proverbs 14 and 12. And it says, there is a way that seems right, that feels right, that appears right to a man, to a woman, to a person. But its end is the way of death. There's a way that feels right. Feels right. And sometimes that feeling, there's a word, which is never the facts, causes us to make permanent decisions. How many times have we've done that? How many times have I done that? Because I'm angry or because I'm in love. It's hard to be in love when you're the only one in it. What is love anyway? So many different definitions and so many ways people define love. This is not really a part of what I wanted to talk about, but it's coming up and it's in my spirit at this moment. And I think that's where most damage is done, because of how we say love, how we see love, and how we perceive love. It's really different. It's really different. And, we never really have these true conversations. And we say that we love, but someone's way of loving may be based upon how much you give to them or not. Some people may measure love in how much time you spend, or how much you can do for them, and not measuring it as God measures it, which is unconditional. How can we say we love, as Jesus would say, if we do not these things? How can we say that we're his disciple if we do not these things? How can we say we love if it's not according to as God loves? If God's love is unconditional, if love covers all, then are we really loving? Or are we just in love with the idea of being in love based upon what we have seen on the movies or read in a book? Love covers all. If we say love, we should see love before we say love. Say love. Anybody ever tell you that? Say love. Maybe that's a New Orleans thing. But before we say love, we should see love, because love is just that. It is a verb. It is action. And love is action. And I'm more interested in seeing love than saying love. No greater example than what we see throughout the entire thread. It is actually the one thread that holds the entire 66 books together. We see love. We see love show up time and time again. We see love in places where we need to forgive, where we need to heal, where we need to even reveal. So saying love and seeing love, it's not the same, but seeing love, then saying love is the same. Because when you can see love, you're actually saying love. There's a way which seems right. Which seems right. And I'll have to be honest, past several months, or maybe over a year now, or maybe longer than that, I've had to really evaluate my life and people in my life, because I'm just normally a giver. I love to give, and sometimes I even struggle with codependency, but not in the sense of being needy, but in the sense of needing to be needed. And when that happens, the needy and greedy, they tend to find you. And there are people, and sometimes I really truly believe that some of these people don't even know that they're needy or greedy, because it's just a part of who they are. And so they see someone who is willing to help, but then they overdo it. See, I'm the type of person, I already know the needy and greedy, but I'll help you up until a point where I can hope you. But if I can't get you beyond the hope, I can no longer help. Because now it's taken to a place of taking advantage of. And so that's why it's really important. Because there's a way that seems right, and it seems right to help people. But if there are more people needing me, talk to you, Darrin, right now. Put the focus on you. If there are more people needing you, Darrin, than feeding you, Darrin, then guess what? You're bleeding you, Darrin. These reflections are about you. Keep the focus on you. If more people are needing you than feeding you, then you're bleeding you. I was in the Marine Corps. One of the lessons we learned is about after there is a casualty, the first thing we're to do is stop the bleeding, protect the wound, and treat for shock. It's been many years, a long time since I've been in the Marine Corps, and I still remember that. Stop the bleeding. Stop the bleeding. That's why the woman who had the issue of blood, 12 years, she said, all I want to do is just stop bleeding. And I believe there's so many people who are in that same place, that same position where you're bleeding, because of what people have done, what you've done, and all you want is relief. You want to stop the bleeding, protect the wound, and treat for shock. Because whatever led us there, whatever got us there, it wasn't bad intentions. And so, that's why I think it's so important not to blame or to live in regret or resentments or revenge, because when we really take a look at it, sometimes it's a casualty of war, a casualty of life, but these are the facts of life. She said, you take the good, you take the bad. You put them both together, and there you have the facts of life. So these are just the facts of life, that there's going to be some casualties. There's going to be some wounds. But in this process, and the reason why this devotional even started, this self-mastery devotional started, was about that very thing. And it was about healing. It is about looking not just in a retrospective way, but a very deep introspective way. And one of the things I realized is that because I understand Proverbs 14 and 12, it's just that there seems to be this way that's right. And we base this based upon maybe our past experience. Maybe it's based upon, our education. It's based upon, what looks easier, what appears to be a faster way. But it says the end thereof are the ways of death. And so the Bible gives some very clear suggestions about how to deal with this. First of all, wisdom. And wisdom comes from God, asking God for wisdom, asking God for knowledge, asking God for understanding. Jesus said, behold, I stand at the door and knock. All you have to do is ask. Ask. A-S-K. Ask, seek, knock. See, because if there are more people needing you than feeding you, then you're bleeding you. And understanding even that, for me, means that if I'm going to get fed, then I need to be led. See, even leaders need leaders. That's why I talk so much about meaningful mentorship that matters, because it absolutely does. Meaningful mentorship matters, but not just having a mentor, but also mentoring. Many times I've been in conversations with someone that I'm mentoring, and they may be struggling on an issue, and I may be having maybe not the same challenge, but something similar. And as I'm mentoring them, I notice that something comes out of my mouth that I needed. So I always encourage people to help others, because although we may be wounded warriors, although we may be bleeding while leading, I know that we're helped when we help. And that's why I continue to help, because every time I help, I'm being helped. So for me, I know that I have to transform. And even though this has started the 30 days, I am learning so much. And I understand that if I'm going to grow myself, I must know myself. Self. Thinking about self doesn't mean that you're selfish. In some cases, it's not even selfless. These reflections in my devotion time, it's meant to focus on self. And that's going to require a few things. Self-awareness, self-acceptance, self-control, self-discipline, self-care, and I saved the best for last, self-love. Self-love. See, self-love will help me with any resentments. Self-love would help me with any regrets. Self-love will help me to avoid wanting revenge. Why? Because it is love that covers all. It's love. Love is the answer. I believe that no matter what, love covers all. resentment, feeling sorry for what didn't happen. I'm sorry. Or that it did happen. Love deals with regrets. I wish it would have happened. Love deals with revenge. It's the only thing. These are the facts of life. So, I'll close with this, because one of my favorite scriptures, and even as I go through this process and learning what to do and learning like what changes do I have to make, not just need, what's not just a request, what's a requirement for Darrin to be different? What do I need to be different? What needs to change? And James 5:16, this is one of where I grabbed one of my love lessons or life lessons. He tells us that we're to pray for one another, that you may be healed. So what's different about Darrin is that he really wants to be healed. What's really different about Darrin during this time frame, he really is sick and tired of being sick and tired. What's really different about Darrin this time, he has to be mindful of who he chooses to allow in his life, in his circle. That's what's different. And James says, pray for one another. So for me, if you can't pray for me, then there is nothing you can say to me. If you can't pray for me, then I am not interested in what you have to say to me. These are the facts of life. I love hard. I care hard. I give hard. But it's caused me much pain and much grief. And I have no regrets because I did it from the heart, but now it's time for me to be smart. So, if you can't pray for me, there's nothing you can say to me. If you can't pray for me, I'm not interested in what you have to say to me. So please pray for me. Because it says when you pray for me that we will be healed. It's not just about my healing. It's about our healing. And no one of us is smarter than all of us. I am because you are. And we may not have it all together. But together,